Well, I guess tell me more about some of the actual impact that some of the donors have had through Montfort.
Yeah, one comes to mind right away. Like we just had a big campaign, so it's a we at the hospital created a mental health emergency zone. So we
Right.
needed
Yeah.
like $2.1 million to invest into
Oof.
this,
Yeah.
and it's not something that we could wait. Like basically, we looked at it and say, philanthropically, we got to do this. Like we need
Mm.
this. So the zone is unique. First of all, so it's the only
Yeah.
one in Ontario again. So it's another big step.
Oh, it's the only one in
Montfort,
Ontario. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Montfort taking the lead.
Yeah.
So it opened this fall. So we basically initiated this project, let's say around January 2024, put the plans together. It did open in the fall, saw its first patients. And the one nice thing with this is it's dedicated just for mental health. So when you come
Yeah.
into the emergency zone, so if your case is of that category, you're totally separate, segregated into a specific room that's built just for that. And
Mm-hmm.
the staff on there includes a qualified nurse in mental health services
Wow.
24/7. So people have
That's wild. Yeah.
immediate attention. So that's definitely one recent one.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a second one, just like in 2021, we had a mandate to expand our services in the east end of Ottawa. So
Right. Okay.
we built the Carrefour Alain Chrétien. So that was done, and this was done during the pandemic. So you can imagine
Oh
fundraising,
man.
construction throughout the pandemic. It's
Oof.
an $88 million project,
Yeah.
supported by the ministry. $76 million came from the ministry. But you ask about the donors. The donors kicked in $12 million.
Oh man.
And this was all done during the pandemic. So over a two
Yeah.
year period, we were able to basically get commitment and funds raised for 12 million.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing with this, it's kind of a new delivery model of services. So it's not
Mm.
only the hospital that's there. So we have the hospital, and there's 4 other healthcare providers that are integrated within that hub. So basically, like for example, CHIO is there. So
Mm.
like it
Oh,
brings
okay. I didn't know that. Yeah.
not only services that the hospital provides, like CHIO is
Yeah.
there, Youth Services Bureau is there to help mental health for youth. So
Okay.
it's like it's a hub where there's a lot of activity going on and really providing for the community.
Yeah, because you don't want these like hubs to be far from people where they have to drive like 45 minutes in traffic when they have an emergency. Like these hubs are critical. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty
yeah,
wild. That.
like just a very simple thing. Like let's say you live in the East End and you need you need some blood work to be done.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a lab right there, so the people in the community can just go there and not go to the hospital to have this done and overpopulate the
Oh
attendance at
my
the
God.
hospital. So it also helps take
Yeah.
away some of the stuff from the hospital. So
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I know the mental health emergency zone is pretty critical. My spouse works in mental health, and when I told her that this was happening, she's like, "Wait, what? Ottawa's getting this? That's wild!" Like, and I was
yeah,
like, "Yeah, like I think it's pretty wild. Like, I think it's pretty cool." And not knowing that it was the only one in Ontario. Like, I think it's been like a thing that people have like thought about. Hey, that could be good, but Montfort's like actually putting into place, and to think that like even just the only one in Ottawa, like there's people having crises, not just in Ottawa, but in Ontario. And to
hmm
have a place where you're not like, I'm going to say judged or like it's not stereotyped into like a physical mental issue. It's like they understand the mental acute crisis that you're going through. And I remember looking up on the website, there's like bean bags and just calm music. And I was like, man, this is just like completely different than what you've ever thought about from a hospital's perspective, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're totally right. Like they need that special need, like a special care, and
Yeah.
the way it's set up, like it's you walk in there, you don't think you're in an emergency room. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just looks like a calm room. Somebody can go in, they can be looked at and taken care of immediately for their case.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's the big difference of having that in within the emergency room, because a lot of hospitals have mental health beds and rooms, but
Mhm.
by the time they get admitted, like you got to take care of them right away. So,
Yeah.
so it's amazing that we can have that, and Montfort is very proud of that
Yeah.
for our community here.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people forget that like the Royal in Ottawa, like it's for admitted patients. They don't have like a like an emergency section like
No,
this. So it's this is fantastic. Wow. And I guess like big picture with Montfort, like I find that Montfort is kind of at a sweet spot from a size perspective, because it's not too big and it's not too small. So I find that like the foundation still has kind of the size or agility to have the big impact without being one of the big charities that are bogged down with all this overhead and administration and all of that. So it is pretty refreshing to see a charity where, you know, each donor's ability to go far with their dollar is there, right? And I think all of this comes down to like the stories, right? People have heard stories about Montfort. It's almost, you know, it's like a legends of sorts. Like there's stories
Yeah.
that people share, and you know, friends of my family and everything. They all have some experiences.